I kept the group chat because deleting it felt wrong. That sounds stupid now, after everything. A group chat is just a little box on a phone. Text and pictures and old jokes. But ours had been running since college, and by the time we were all close to 30, it felt less like an app and more like a room we still knew how to enter. There were 5 of us. Me, Danny Fisk, Priya Nair, Caleb Roscoe, and Elsbeth Klein. Nobody called her Elsbeth except her mother and professors who were trying too hard. To us, she was Beth. Sometimes Bethy, if Danny was drunk and trying to annoy her. We met freshman year at Carrington State, in a dorm that smelled like old carpet and microwave popcorn. Danny lived across from me. Caleb was 2 doors down. Priya was on the floor below but came upstairs because she said the people below were too clean, and it made her nervous. Beth lived in the next building, but she dated a guy on our floor for 3 weeks, dumped him, and kept us instead. We started the chat during finals week of sophomore year. Danny named it the sink because the drain in the 4th floor bathroom had backed up and flooded the hall. That was the kind of thing that was funny when you were 20. After graduation, no one renamed it. We used it for everything. Priya sent pictures of food she made and then complained she had eaten too much. Caleb sent links to articles nobody read. Danny sent voice notes from bars, usually too loud to understand. Beth sent small things. A dog in a stroller. A weird sign. A picture of the sky when it looked like rain but did not rain. I usually answered first when Beth texted. I had been in love with her for a long time. I did not say that to anyone. I did not even say it to myself in a clean way. It was easier to call it a crush, even when we were older and the words sounded childish, easier to make it small. Danny knew, or guessed. He once told me at a wedding, with his tie loose and his breath full of whiskey, that I looked at Beth like a dog waiting outside a butcher shop. I told him to shut up. He laughed and kissed the top of my head, because Danny did things like that when he was drunk and believed every person on earth loved him. Beth did not know, or maybe she did. Beth noticed more than people thought. She remembered little things. She knew I hated coconut. She knew Caleb got quiet when he was stressed. She knew Priya lied and said she was fine when she was angry. She knew Danny hated being alone, even though he acted like being alone was a disease other people had. After college, we scattered but stayed close enough. Danny moved to Chicago and sold medical software. He made too much money and spent it like rent was optional. Priya stayed in town for grad school and later got a job at a children's hospital. Caleb moved to Columbus and worked in city planning. Beth became a teacher in a small district outside Dayton. I stayed near Carrington, first because I could not get hired anywhere better, then because staying became a habit. We met up once or twice a year. Weddings, birthdays, random weekends. The group chat filled the spaces between. Then Beth died. It was late September. She had been driving home from school on a county road, the kind with deep ditches and cornfields on both sides. A truck in the other lane crossed over. That was what the police report said. There had been rain earlier. The road was slick. The truck driver lived. Beth did not. Her car went sideways into a tree. The engine folded in. She died before the ambulance got there. I found out from Priya. She called me crying so hard I could barely make out the words. At first I thought her mother had died. Then I thought she had been in an accident. When she said Beth's name, something inside me pulled tight and stayed that way. I remember sitting down on the kitchen floor, not falling, just sitting because my legs had become too unsure to trust. Priya kept saying she was sorry, like she had done it. I stared at the little black line under my dishwasher where the kick plate did not sit right. Beth's funeral was on a gray Friday. Her parents looked smaller than I remembered. Her mother held both of my hands and told me Beth always spoke highly of me. I hated her for saying it. I hated the comfort of it. I hated that I wanted more. Danny cried openly. Priya kept a tissue pressed under her nose. Caleb stood stiff with his arms folded, staring at the floor. Afterward, we sat in Caleb's rental car in the church parking lot and did not know where to go. The reception was at a hall behind the church, but none of us wanted sandwiches and coffee, while Beth's school co-workers talked about how bright she had been. Danny said, "I keep thinking she's going to text us about how weird this is." Nobody answered. That night, back at my apartment, I opened the sink. The last message from Beth was 4 days old. She had sent a picture of a mug on her desk. The mug said, "I teach tiny humans to read." Under it she wrote, "New gift from Ava's mom. I have become the target demographic for terrible mugs." Danny had said, "You were always the target demographic." Priya had said, "I love it." Caleb had said, "Objectively awful." I had said, "Keep it forever." Beth had responded, "I might." That was the last normal thing she said to us. For 2 weeks, nobody used the chat. Danny texted me separately a few times. Priya too. Caleb sent one message asking if everyone got home okay from the funeral, and we all answered in the separate thread, because no one wanted to put words under Beth's name. Then one Saturday morning, Beth texted the sink. It was not dramatic. No strange photo. No message from beyond anything. Just a line that looked like her. She said she had forgotten how much she liked grocery shopping early. I saw it while I was standing in the checkout line at a pharmacy, holding deodorant and a bottle of orange juice. My phone buzzed. I looked. For a second, I understood the words, before I understood who had sent them. Then I dropped the orange juice. The bottle split at the corner and spread across the floor. A woman behind me stepped back and said something, but I was looking at my screen. Beth's little circle was there, the picture she used for years, her in a green jacket, cheek pressed to Danny's shoulder, both of them laughing at something off camera. Another message came in. She said, "Also, why are grapes so expensive now?" I could not move. Danny answered first. He wrote, "Not funny." Priya wrote, "Who is this?" Caleb wrote, "Seriously, stop." A typing bubble appeared under Beth's name. I watched it pulse. Then Beth said, "What?" "I'm just complaining." I called Danny. He answered with no hello. "Are you seeing this?" he said. "Yes." "Who has her phone?" "I don't know. Her parents, maybe?" "Why would they do that?" "Somebody hacked it then." His voice was angry, but there was fear under it. I could hear cars behind him. He was outside somewhere. In the chat, Priya wrote, "Beth is dead. Whoever this is, you're sick." Beth's account responded with a laughing emoji. Then she wrote, "Priya, don't be like that. Did you sleep at all?" Priya did not answer. Danny said into the phone, "Jesus Christ." Caleb wrote, "I'm reporting the account." Beth said, "Caleb, you never report anything. You still have spam emails from 2015. That was true. It was also something Beth would have known. I felt cold around my ribs. Not outside cold. Inside cold. Danny said, "It's somebody who knows us." "Maybe someone got into her backups," I said. "What does that even mean?" "I don't know." A cashier asked if I needed help. I looked down and saw orange juice around my shoes. I told Danny I had to go. I cleaned up with paper towels while my phone buzzed in my pocket. I did not look again until I was in my car. There were 12 new messages. Danny had threatened whoever it was. Priya had begged them to stop. Caleb had gone quiet. Beth's account had kept going like she did not understand. She said she was making soup later. She asked if Danny still hated celery. She told me, "Evan, you'd like the soup. No coconut." My name sat there like a hand on the back of my neck. I did not answer. By evening, the account had stopped. Danny said he had called Beth's mother and told her someone was using Beth's phone or account. Her mother became upset and said Beth's phone had been destroyed in the accident. The police had returned a bag with things from the car, but the phone was in pieces. Her laptop was at home, but her parents had not turned it on. Danny said they were calling Apple and the phone company, which sounded like action, but meant nothing. Priya left the group chat. Then she came back 10 minutes later because she said leaving felt worse. For the next month, Beth's messages came a few times a week. They were almost always boring. She said she had seen a golden retriever wearing boots. She said one of her students had called a stapler a paper biter. She asked if anyone remembered the pizza place near campus that had burned down. She said she needed to buy conditioner. There were things wrong with them, but wrong in a way that made them worse because you had to sit with them to notice. Beth never mentioned school by name. She never used current details that could be checked. When she talked about a student, it was always vague. A kid said this. A parent sent that. She never sent pictures, even though Beth used to send pictures all the time. She also never asked why we were upset. Not really. She acted like we were being dramatic about a joke she did not understand. At first we fought with the account. Then we tried ignoring it. Ignoring was harder. When a dead friend says she bought apples, you still read it. You read it before you can stop yourself. Caleb was the one who got practical. He made us change passwords. He told us to turn on two-factor authentication. He sent links about SIM swapping and spoofed numbers. He contacted Beth's parents and helped them lock whatever accounts they could. He asked if any of us had lost old phones or laptops. He wanted a list of everyone who had ever been in our dorm room, as if this was a burglary from 8 years ago. Danny thought it was someone from college, maybe someone who had hated us, maybe Beth's ex from freshman year. Priya thought it was a teenager. She said kids did terrible things when they felt anonymous. I did not say much. At work, I kept my phone face down but checked it too often. I worked in inventory management for a company that supplied restaurant equipment. There was nothing interesting about it. I ordered parts, logged shipments, answered emails from men who wanted to argue about delivery windows. I did my job well because I liked things to be where they were supposed to be. My apartment was clean. People noticed that. They joked about it. Danny once opened my fridge and said it looked like a hotel minibar for one lonely business traveler. He was not wrong. I did not like clutter. I did not like stains. I did not like leaving things for later. Beth used to say my place felt peaceful. She came over only 3 times. The first time was after graduation, when she helped me carry a second-hand dresser up the stairs. The second was for a small New Year's thing when everyone got too tired to go out. The third time was the year before she died, when she was passing through town and asked if I wanted lunch. I made grilled cheese because I panicked and could not think of another thing. She sat at my little table and told me about a boy in her class who cried when he learned whales could die. I watched her hands when she talked. Beth had small scars near 2 knuckles from a childhood fall on gravel. I knew that because she told me when we were kids. That is something I did not mention earlier. I knew Beth before college. Not well. Not in a way that counted to her. We grew up in the same town until my family moved away when I was 8. Our mothers took us to the same library story hour. We were in the same first-grade class for part of the year. She had a red backpack with a broken zipper, and one time she cried because another kid called her lunch gross. I traded her my crackers for her grapes. She probably forgot that before the day ended. I did not. When I saw her again in college, across a dorm lounge with her hair cut shorter and a blue laundry basket on her hip, I knew her before she knew me. She laughed at something Danny said, and I stood there with my plastic cup of warm beer and felt 7 years old again. When I told her we had been in first grade together, she smiled politely, then really looked at me and said, "Wait, Evan? With the dinosaur sweatshirt?" I still remember how it felt to be recognized. I built too much on that. I know that now. Or I know what I am supposed to say now. The messages kept coming. Beth said she missed campus in October. Beth said she wanted a soft pretzel. Beth said the moon looked fake. Beth said, "Danny, do you still have that awful leather jacket?" Danny wrote back, "You're not Beth." Beth replied, "You always hated when I was right." Danny called me less after that. He started sending voice notes instead of texts, like he did not want his words sitting still. In one of them he said he had dreamed Beth was at the foot of his bed, eating cereal from the box. He laughed when he said it, but then he stopped laughing, and the recording kept going for a few seconds. I could hear him breathing. Priya took it the hardest. She worked with sick kids all day, and then came home to messages from our dead friend asking about coupons. She stopped sleeping well. She said she heard her phone vibrate when it had not. She stopped keeping it near her bed. Caleb became sharper. He said we were feeding the person by reacting. He said whoever it was wanted attention. He told us not to respond at all. For a while, we did not. Then Danny died. The police called it a home invasion gone wrong. He had moved into a nice apartment in River North with big windows and a gym downstairs. There were cameras in the lobby, cameras in the elevator, cameras in the hallway. None of them caught anyone who was not supposed to be there. His door showed no sign of forced entry. He was found by a coworker after he missed a client meeting. The coworker got building security to open the door. Danny was in his kitchen. I know more than I should about how he looked because Danny's brother told Caleb. And Caleb told us even though Priya begged him not to. Danny had been hit in the face and head with something heavy. A lot. Enough that his brother said he had to identify him by a tattoo on his ankle. The stupid slice of pizza he got in college because Beth dared him. There were cuts on his hands. Defensive wounds, Caleb said. Because Caleb used words like that when he was trying not to feel anything. Nothing valuable was missing. His laptop was still there. His watch was on the counter. His wallet had cash in it. Only his phone was gone. For 3 days, the sink stayed silent. The 4 of us had become 3, but the chat still showed 5 names. Beth's dead account, Danny's dead account, Priya, Caleb, me. Priya wanted to delete it. Caleb said no, because if the person texted from Danny's phone, that could be evidence. He told us not to touch anything. He said he had already spoken to the police in Chicago and to the detective from Beth's accident, though I doubted the detective from Beth's accident cared much about a strange group chat. On the 4th day, Danny texted. He said, "Can't find my black shoes." Priya called me right away. I was in bed, not sleeping. The room was dark except for the phone glare. "Evan," she said. I saw. "I can't do this." "I know." "No, I mean it. I can't." Her voice was flat, which scared me more than crying. Danny's account sent another message. He said, "Beth, did I leave them at your place?" Then Beth's account answered. She said, "Maybe by the door." Priya made a sound like she was going to be sick. Caleb wrote, "You made a mistake." Danny's account replied, "I make lots of mistakes." Caleb said, "You have both phones." No answer for a while. Then Beth said, "Not both." Danny said, "Some pockets are bigger than others." I put the phone down on my chest and stared at the ceiling until the screen went dark. After Danny died, the fear changed. With Beth, the messages had felt cruel, but still almost abstract. Someone was hurting us. Someone had found a way into a private place and was smearing their hands on it. With Danny, there was blood behind the words. We all became careful in different ways. Priya installed another lock on her apartment door and asked a neighbor to walk her to her car when she left before sunrise. Caleb bought security cameras and sent us screenshots of his porch, like the blurry view of shrubs would save him. I started checking my back seat before I got in the car. I kept a hammer under my bed, which seemed ridiculous until it did not. The police talked to us. A detective from Chicago called me. His name was Harrow. He asked when I had last spoken with Danny, whether Danny had enemies, whether I knew anyone who might want to scare our friend group. He sounded tired and decent. I told him about the messages. He already knew. Caleb had sent screenshots. Detective Harrow asked if Beth and Danny had ever been involved romantically. "No," I said. "Were you sure?" "Yes." "Any tension around that?" "No." That was not completely true, but not in the way he meant. He asked about me and Beth. I paused too long. He noticed. I said I had cared about her. We all had. He asked if we had dated. No. Did you want to? I hated his voice then. Calm, not accusing. Just putting the question on the table and waiting for me to pick it up. "I had a crush on her in college," I said. It was nothing. Did she know? I don't think so. He let the silence stretch. It was years ago, I added. He moved on. After the call, I stood in my kitchen and drank water from the tap until my stomach hurt. The messages from Beth and Danny became more frequent. They talked to each other now, mostly. It made Priya leave the chat again. Caleb added her back because he said leaving would not protect her, and we needed the record. They argued privately about it. I knew because Priya sent me screenshots. Then she apologized for sending them and said she did not know who else to talk to. Beth said the soup needed salt. Danny said everything needed salt. Beth said, Priya hates when you say that. Danny said, Priya loves me. Priya did not answer. Caleb wrote, this is evidence in an active murder investigation. Danny replied, you sound like a brochure. Beth wrote, he always did. That was cruel because it was true in a way only we would understand. Caleb had always been the one who sounded like he had prepared a statement. Even drunk, he spoke in complete paragraphs. Beth used to tease him by asking if he wanted to submit his opinion in writing. A stranger could learn facts from old messages. They could read years of jokes and copy them. But there were little rhythms that felt alive. Not perfect, but close enough to make my skin feel too tight. The worst was when they got something slightly wrong. Danny called Priya Pri once. Danny never called her that. Beth had sometimes, but Danny always said her full name because he liked how annoyed she got when he overpronounced it. Priya noticed. She wrote, Danny didn't call me that. Danny replied, people change. Beth wrote, not that much. Then both accounts went silent for the rest of the day. Caleb drove to Chicago twice to meet with Detective Harrow. He told us he was pushing them to look at our old college circle, at anyone with access to Beth's accounts, at Danny's building staff. He also started keeping notes. He made a shared document with dates, messages, screenshots, call logs, old relationships, possible suspects. He was good at that kind of thing. Too good. By December, I could not open the chat without feeling my heartbeat in my teeth. The weather turned bad. The days got short. Every sound in my apartment seemed louder than it was. The refrigerator motor, the pipes, a car door outside. I spent Christmas alone because my parents had moved to Arizona, and I told them flights were too expensive. That was true, but not the reason. Priya invited me to her cousin's house. Caleb invited me to his place for New Year's. I said I was sick. On Christmas morning, Beth texted, Merry Christmas, weirdos. Danny sent a picture. It was blurry and dark. For a second, I did not understand it. Then Caleb wrote, Where did you get that? It was a photo from our senior year. All 5 of us in the dorm lounge after a holiday party. Priya had tinsel around her neck. Danny wore a Santa hat. Caleb looked uncomfortable. Beth leaned into my side, laughing. My face in the picture was turned toward her instead of the camera. I remembered that night clearly. Beth had been drunk, not sloppy, just warm and loose and kind. She kept touching people when she talked. She touched my arm, my shoulder, once my chest when she wanted me to move so she could get by. Later, she fell asleep on the couch with her knees tucked under her, and I sat in a chair across from her until the room emptied. I had not seen that photo in years. Priya wrote, Delete that. Danny wrote. Why? It's nice. Beth wrote. Evan looks happy. I did not respond. Caleb called me that night. He sounded different, too controlled. Can you talk? He asked. Yes. I think it's someone close. I know. No, I mean close. I sat down slowly. What are you saying? I'm saying there are things in the messages that were never in the chat. Like what? The black shoes. Danny lost those at Beth's apartment after my 30th. That was in person, not text. The paper biter thing from Beth's class. She told us at the brewery. I checked. It's not in the chat. Maybe she posted it somewhere. She didn't. You don't know that. I looked. Of course he had. Caleb breathed into the phone. He said, Harrow asked me about you. My hand tightened around the phone. Why? He's asking about everyone. But you're telling me he asked about me. Because he did. What did you say? The truth. I waited. He said that you were in love with Beth. My jaw went tight. You don't know that. Evan, don't say it like that. We all knew. You didn't. We did. Beth did too. For a moment I could not hear anything except blood in my ears. Caleb said my name again, softer. She cared about you. She just didn't feel that way. Why are you telling me this? Because if there's anything you forgot to mention to the police, now is the time. I laughed once. It sounded wrong. You think I'm doing this? I don't know what I think. That's insane. I know. You think I killed Danny? I didn't say that. You didn't have to. He sighed. I'm scared. Priya's scared. We're all scared. I'm not accusing you. I'm asking you to be honest with me. I have been. He was quiet. I said, Go to hell, Caleb. Then I hung up. He tried calling back twice. I did not answer. The next day, he sent me a text outside the group chat. He said he was sorry. He said he should not have put it that way. He asked me to call him. I ignored it. In the sink, Beth said, Fighting before New Year's is bad luck. Danny said, Caleb started it. Caleb wrote, Do not contact me again unless it's through police. Beth responded, So formal. 2 weeks later, Caleb died. His death was not clean either. That is a strange phrase, but it is what I thought when I heard. Not clean, not quick. Not like the car accident they said took Beth. Not like Danny, though I guess Danny's was not quick either. Caleb was found in his garage by a neighbor who saw blood under the side door. He had been tied to a chair with extension cords. His left hand was broken. 2 fingers were missing. His face was cut badly. The cause of death was blood loss from a deep wound in his thigh. The police did not give all those details to us. Priya's brother knew a patrol officer in Columbus. People say they cannot tell you things, and then tell you things anyway if you sound destroyed enough. Caleb's phone was gone. His laptop was smashed on the floor. His security cameras had been taken, not just disabled. Whoever killed him had known where they were. The last message Caleb sent me was still unread in my inbox. Please call me. I'm sorry. I found something weird and I don't want to put it in the chat. I read it after I knew he was dead. Then I read it again. Then I turned off my phone and put it in a drawer, as if distance mattered. Priya came to my apartment that night. She drove 3 hours through sleet because she said she could not stay in her place. When I opened the door, she looked 10 years older. Her hair was pulled back too tight. She had no makeup on, and her eyes were raw. She stepped inside and hugged me hard. I stood there with my arms around her, smelling cold air in her coat. "We're next," she said into my shirt. I did not say no. She slept on my couch. I did not sleep. I sat at the kitchen table with the light off and watched the living room until the windows went pale. In the morning, Caleb texted the group chat. He said, "Does anyone know how to get blood out of concrete?" Priya screamed. It was not a movie scream. It was short and ugly, almost angry. She threw my phone across the room. It hit the wall and fell behind the small bookcase. I went to get it, but she grabbed my arm. "Don't," she said. "It's evidence." "I don't care. We need to screenshot it." "No." Her nails dug into my wrist. She was shaking so hard the couch cushion trembled under her. Beth wrote, "Cold water first." Danny wrote, "Club soda?" Caleb wrote, "I tried bleach." Priya covered her ears. I got the phone anyway. She stared at me like she did not know me. "You're so calm," she said. "I'm not." "You are." "I'm trying to help." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Help who?" That hurt. It also made something hot move under my skin. "Don't start," I said. She stood up. "What did Caleb find?" "I don't know. He said he found something. He didn't tell me." "He called you." "He texted me." "After you fought?" "Yes." "What was it about?" "You know what it was about." "Say it." I looked at her. She swallowed. "He thought it was you," she said. "He was scared and not thinking straight." "He was thinking straighter than any of us." I felt my face change. Not much. Just enough that Priya took one step back. "You should go," I said. She looked toward the door, then back at me. "I shouldn't have come here." "No," I said. "You shouldn't have." Her mouth opened, closed. She picked up her bag and left without another word. I watched from the window as she got into her car. She sat there for several minutes before pulling away. That afternoon, Detective Harrow called me again. He asked where I had been the night Caleb died. I told him I had been home. "Can anyone confirm that?" "No." He asked when I had last seen Caleb. "At Beth's funeral." "Not since?" "No." He asked about my argument with Caleb. I said Caleb had been upset and had accused me without meaning to. Harrow asked why he would accuse me. I said grief makes people cruel. He did not disagree. Then he asked about Beth again. "What about her?" I said. "Did you ever ask her out?" I looked at the wall above my sink. There was a small crack in the paint shaped like a hook. "No," I said. It was a lie. I had asked Beth out 6 weeks before she died. I did it at a restaurant near the river, a place with Edison bulbs and small plates everyone pretended were enough food. Beth had come into town for a teacher training and asked if I wanted to get dinner. We sat by the window. It rained on and off. She wore a yellow sweater. I remember because I could not stop looking at the cuff near her wrist, where it had stretched loose. I had planned it for weeks. Longer than weeks. Years, really, if I am being honest. I kept waiting for the right time. College was not the right time because she was dating other people, or I was scared, or the group mattered too much. After college was not right because we lived apart. Then people started getting married. Life hardened around us. I felt her slipping into a place where wanting her would become pathetic even to me. So I asked. Not well. I talked too long. I said I had feelings for her. I said they had been there for a long time. I said I knew it might be strange, but I could not keep pretending she was just my friend. Beth listened with that careful face she used when a child told her something serious. That face should have warned me. She reached across the table and put her hand over mine. Evan, she said, I love you, but not like that. There are people who will tell you rejection is clean if it is kind. They are lying. Kindness can make it worse. Kindness leaves no place to put the anger. I pulled my hand back. She looked hurt, as if she had the right. I'm sorry, she said. Don't be. I don't want this to change things. It won't. I mean it. I said it won't. She nodded, but I could see she did not believe me. That was another insult, though she did not mean it as one. Beth never understood how much she took from me by being gentle. After dinner, I walked her to her car. She hugged me. I did not hug back at first. Then I did, because I wanted to remember what she felt like. Her hair smelled like rain and some sharp, clean shampoo. She drove away. I stood in the parking lot and watched until her taillights disappeared. Then I went home and opened the drawer under my bed. Inside were things I had collected over a long time. Photos, mostly. Printed ones from childhood that my mother had taken at school events and library days. Screenshots from Beth's social media. Pictures from college. Old birthday cards she had signed. A napkin she had doodled on during junior year. A cracked green button from her coat that came loose at a bar and rolled under the table. She joked that it was gone forever. I picked it up after everyone left. There was also a small envelope with hair in it. That started when we were little. In first grade, Beth cut a piece of her hair during art because someone said the scissors were not sharp. The teacher got upset. The piece fell near my shoe. I put it in my pocket. I did not know why then. Later there were other pieces. A strand on the back of a couch. A few hairs from a brush she left in a dorm bathroom when she stayed over after a party. One from her yellow sweater after the dinner by the river. I saw it on my sleeve after she hugged me. I held it under the light and felt something in me settle. That drawer was not a shrine. I hate that word. It makes it sound theatrical. It was storage. Proof that my life had a center even when nobody else could see it. After she rejected me, I sat on the floor and took everything out. I lined the photos by year. Beth at 6, missing one front tooth. Beth at 19, laughing with red plastic cups on the table. Beth at 27, standing beside a classroom bulletin board. Beth at dinner, from a photo I took when she went to the bathroom and left her bag on the chair. I looked at all of it and understood that I had spent my whole life gathering courage to ask one question. She answered it in less than 10 seconds. People think rage is loud. Mine was quiet. It cleaned the room. It made dinner for one. It went to work. It answered emails. It waited. When Detective Harrow asked if I had ever asked Beth out, I said no. He said, "You're sure?" "Yes." He said he might need to speak with me in person. I told him I would be available. Priya stopped responding to my texts. The group chat did not stop. Caleb joined Beth and Danny in their little dead routine. He complained about spreadsheets. He asked if anyone had seen his good pliers. He said his garage smelled like pennies. Beth said, "That's blood." Danny said, "She would know. Teach her." Caleb said, "Kids bleed constantly." Priya muted the chat, but she still read it. I knew because the read receipts showed when she forgot to turn them off. Then she called me 3 nights after leaving my apartment. I almost did not answer. When I did, she said, "I know." I closed my eyes. "What do you know?" "I went to the police." "Okay." "I told them about Beth rejecting you." My mouth went dry. "She told you?" "Of course she told me." That was worse than the rejection. Beth had taken the private wound and shown it to Priya. Maybe she had done it kindly. Maybe she had cried. Maybe Priya had held her hand and said Evan would be fine. He was a good guy. He would get over it. A good guy. I looked toward the bedroom where the drawer waited under my bed. Priya said, "She was worried about you." Was she? Yes. She had no reason to be. She said you scared her a little that night. I laughed softly. Priya went quiet. "What did you do?" she asked. "Nothing." "Evan, you sound like Caleb. Tell me you didn't." "I didn't." She started crying, but she tried to hide it. "The police are going to call you again." "They already did." "You should turn yourself in." "For what?" "Please don't make me say it." "For what, Priya?" "For Beth. For Danny. For Caleb." I opened my eyes. The apartment was dark. My reflection in the kitchen window looked like someone standing outside. "You think I killed them?" "Yes." "Then why call me?" "Because I wanted to hear you deny it like a human being." That sentence stayed with me. "Like a human being." I said, "Lock your door." She stopped crying. "What?" I said, "Lock your door." "Evan." I hung up. I did not go to her that night. That surprised me. It may surprise you too. I stayed home. I watched television with the sound low. I ate toast. I washed the plate and put it in the rack. I slept 4 hours. The next morning there was an unmarked car outside my building. It could have been nothing. People own gray sedans. People park on streets. But I saw the same car again when I left work. I drove 3 extra turns before going home, and it stayed behind me for 2 of them. That evening, Detective Harrow called. He asked me to come in and talk. I said I wanted a lawyer. He said that was my right. His tone changed after that. Not much, but enough. I knew then the window was closing. Priya was staying with her brother by then. That was what she told the group chat, which was stupid. Fear makes people stupid. Her brother lived in a split-level house in a suburb outside Dayton. Wife, 2 kids, basketball hoop in the driveway, a yellow porch light, a sliding glass door in back with a weak lock because people always think danger uses the front door. I waited 2 days. During those 2 days, the dead accounts stayed cheerful. Beth said she found the softest socks. Danny said his jaw hurt. Caleb said he hated sitting still. Priya did not answer. I sent one message as myself. I said, "Priya, please call me. I'm worried." She read it and did not respond. That hurt more than it should have. When I finally went, I took the back roads. I had been careful with the others, but not perfect. Nobody is perfect. The thing movies get wrong is that murder is not one big act. It is a series of errands. Driving, parking, waiting, carrying, wiping, changing clothes, throwing away shoes, checking messages, remembering which hand you use to touch what. It is boring until it is not, and the boring parts are where you can make mistakes. Beth was easiest because everyone expected an accident. I knew her route from school because she had complained about it in the chat. The bad curve near Miller's farm. The stretch where trucks came too fast. I borrowed a work truck from our warehouse, one with old plates and a cracked mirror, and I waited on a side road until I saw her car pass. I followed at a distance. At the curve, I came over the line hard enough to scare her. I did not hit her head on. I did not need to. She swerved. The road was wet. Her car went into the tree with a sound I still feel in my teeth. I stopped farther up, out of sight, and walked back through the ditch. She was alive when I got there. Not much, but alive. The front of the car was crushed. Steam came from the engine. The air smelled like antifreeze and mud. Her face was turned toward the broken window. There was blood in her hair. One eye was open. She tried to breathe and made a wet little sound. I said her name. I do not know if she understood. I could have called for help. Maybe she would have died anyway. Probably she would have. That is what I tell myself when I need to sleep. Instead, I reached through the broken window and held her hand until she stopped moving. Then I took her phone from the floor. The screen was cracked but worked enough. I had watched her enter her passcode at dinner weeks before. Beth never hid things well from me. I threw a broken phone I bought online into the wreckage later, after copying what I needed and making sure hers looked destroyed enough in the report. That part was harder than the killing. Practical things often are. Danny was harder because he was strong. He let me into his building because I told him I was in Chicago for work and needed to talk. He was happy to see me. That is the detail people miss. Danny opened the door smiling. He hugged me. He smelled like beer and expensive soap. He asked if I wanted something to drink. I hit him while he was reaching into the fridge. The first blow did not knock him out. It broke something in his face, and he turned with a look I had never seen on him. Confused, offended, scared. He said, "Evan, what the hell?" Then he tried to fight. Danny was bigger than me, but surprise matters. So does willingness. He grabbed my shirt and drove me into the counter. I hit him again with the tire iron. He raised his hands. I kept hitting until his knees went. Then I kept hitting because he was still making sounds. After, I washed my hands in his sink and took his phone. His passcode was his birthday backward. Danny told us that once because he thought it was clever. Caleb nearly ruined everything. He had cameras. He had notes. He had suspicion. He had found an old traffic camera clip from near the road where Beth died. Not enough to prove anything, but enough to show a warehouse truck with a cracked mirror turning off the main road. He traced it to companies in the area. He found mine. That was what he wanted to tell me. I went to Columbus before he could tell anyone else. He did not let me in. Caleb saw me through the garage window and tried to close the side door. I forced it. He ran for the house. I caught him in the garage because there were too many things in the way. Boxes, tools, a lawn spreader, winter tires. He fell. I hit his knee with a crowbar. He screamed once before I covered his mouth. I asked where the files were. He said nothing. Caleb had always thought pain was information other people failed to manage. He learned quickly that was not true. His hand broke under the hammer. His fingers came off with bolt cutters from his own workbench. He told me after the first one. The files were on his laptop and backed up to a drive in his desk. I destroyed both. Then I cut his thigh too deep and watched him fade. I did not mean for that part to take as long as it did. He kept looking at me like he still wanted an explanation. I told him Beth should have chosen better friends. That was not the explanation, but it was something. Priya did not deserve worse than the others. I want to be fair about that. Priya was kind most of the time. She had a hard edge, but it came from caring too much and getting tired. She called people on their lies. She called me on mine. That was her mistake. Her brother's house was quiet when I arrived. I parked 2 streets away and walked through yards. Most people had curtains open because they believed suburbs were honest places. I watched long enough to see the brother leave with 1 child. Then his wife left with the other. Priya stayed. She had always been bad at hiding from her phone, so I knew she was there. Beth's account texted her earlier, asking if the guest room still smelled like dust. Priya read it from that house. I went around back. The sliding door lock gave under a flathead screwdriver and a little pressure. Inside smelled like laundry detergent and coffee. A dog barked somewhere nearby, but not in the house. Priya was upstairs. I heard her walking. I called her name softly from the hallway. She froze. Then she said, "No." Just that. No. She ran into the bathroom and locked the door. She had her phone. I heard her talking to emergency services. I kicked the door until the frame split. She sprayed something in my face when I got through. Perfume, maybe. It burned my eyes enough that she almost got past me. She scratched my cheek. She bit my hand. Priya fought harder than Danny, but in a different way. Danny fought to win. Priya fought because she knew she would not. I pushed her into the sink. Her head hit the mirror and cracked it. She slid down, and I got my hands around her throat. I had not planned to do it that way. That is another thing people do not understand. Plans fall apart. Bodies move. People are slippery when they are trying to live. Priya clawed at my wrists. She made a sound like she was trying to swallow rocks. Her eyes were open the whole time. When it was done, I sat on the bathroom floor beside her for a minute because my legs were shaking. Her phone was under the towel rack. The emergency call had connected. A woman's voice was asking if anyone could hear her. I ended the call. That was a mistake. I knew it as soon as I did it. I took Priya's phone and left through the back. I did not have time to clean much. My cheek was bleeding. My hand was bleeding. There would be my blood there. Maybe under her nails too. Maybe on the sink. By the time I reached my car, I could hear sirens far away. Not close, but coming. I drove without speeding. I parked behind a closed dentist's office and changed my jacket. I put Priya's phone with the others in the metal box under the passenger seat. Beth, Danny, Caleb, Priya. 4 phones wrapped in cloth, each with its own charger, each alive because I kept them alive. That was the part that took care. Batteries, updates, signals, location settings. I learned as I went. I made mistakes. The first weeks were sloppy. Later I got better. I did not use their words perfectly. I know that. I was not trying to fool them forever. Not exactly. I wanted them to feel what I had felt. I wanted them to be pulled toward a voice that was not there. I wanted them to answer, then hate themselves for answering. I wanted their love for her to rot in their hands. And yes, I wanted company. That is the worst truth, maybe. After Beth died, the world became quiet in a way I had not expected. I thought killing her would end the wanting. Instead, it made the wanting homeless. The phones helped. When I wrote as Beth, she was still somewhere I could reach. When Danny died, he joined her. Then Caleb. Then Priya. A room with all of us in it again. I came home before dawn. There was another unmarked car outside my building. This time there were 2 men in it. I kept driving. By noon, my face was on the local news. Not a mugshot. My driver's license photo, which somehow looked more guilty than a mugshot would have. They called me a person of interest at first. Then they called me a suspect. By evening, they said armed and dangerous, though I had never used a gun. That bothered me. It still does. I ditched my car in a long-term parking lot near the airport and took a bus west with cash. Not far. Far enough for the first day. I bought a cheap backpack, a hat, a prepaid phone. I kept the metal box with the 4 phones in a grocery bag on my lap. People sat around me staring at their own screens. Nobody looked at mine. The sink was quiet for most of the ride. Then Priya texted. She said, "I don't feel good." I had written it. I knew I had written it. I had typed it with my thumb while sitting in the back of the bus, watching flat winter fields slide past the window. Still, seeing her name made my stomach turn. Beth replied, "Drink water." Danny said, "And eat something salty." Caleb said, "Not everything needs salt." I smiled. I did not mean to. Then a new message appeared. From me. My account. It said, "Where are we going?" I stared at it. My first thought was that I had pocket texted somehow, but my real phone was in my hand. The prepaid phone was off. The 4 stolen phones were in the grocery bag. My own old phone, the one tied to my account, was on the seat beside me, screen dark. Another message came from my account. It said, "Evan, where are we going?" The bus hummed. A man across the aisle coughed into his sleeve. The woman in front of me adjusted her earbuds. I picked up my phone. My hands felt clumsy. I had not typed it. Beth wrote, "He doesn't know." Danny wrote, "He never did." Caleb wrote, "That's why he kept notes in his head instead of living." Priya wrote, "He thinks this is love." I swallowed. I wanted to throw the phones out the window, but the windows did not open. I powered off my phone. The screen went black. The phone buzzed anyway. The message was there when I turned it back on. Beth said, "You held my hand." I stopped breathing for a second. Nobody knew that. Not police. Not Caleb. Not Priya. No one. I looked into the grocery bag. Beth's phone was on top, wrapped in a gray cloth. Its screen was dark. A message came from Danny. He said, "You kept hitting me after I was gone." Then Caleb, "You used my own tools." Then Priya, "I heard you breathing after I stopped." My hands shook so badly I dropped the phone. It hit the floor under the seat. I bent to get it, and the grocery bag tipped. The metal box slid out and opened. 4 phones spilled onto the bus floor. A woman across the aisle looked over. Not alarmed, just curious. All 4 screens lit at once. Beth, Danny, Caleb, Priya. Each one showed the sink. Messages came too fast to read. My own phone buzzed under the seat. The prepaid phone in my backpack buzzed too, though no one had the number. The sound built around me, a dry little storm of plastic vibrations. The woman across the aisle said, "You okay?" I said yes, but my voice was not right. I gathered the phones and shoved them back into the box. I held the lid closed with both hands. Inside, they kept buzzing. At the next stop, I got off. I was in a town I did not know. Low buildings, a gas station, a closed diner with plywood over one window. The sky was bright and cold. Trucks passed on the highway. I walked behind the gas station to a drainage ditch with dirty snow at the edges. I opened the metal box and smashed each phone with a tire iron I had kept from Danny. Beth's first, then Danny's, Caleb's, Priya's. I broke the screens, the backs, the little frames. I hit until pieces scattered in the mud. When I was done, I was sweating through my shirt. My own phone buzzed in my coat pocket. I took it out. The screen was cracked from the bus floor, but still worked. The sink had one new message. It was from Beth. She said, "You always keep things." I threw the phone into the ditch and walked away. I lasted 3 days without checking. That is not courage. It is not even discipline. It is harder than you think to abandon the only people who know the whole truth about you. I bought another prepaid phone at a drugstore. I used cash. I told myself it was only for maps, only for news, only to know where the police were looking. I did not install anything. I did not sign in. The first message arrived while I was in the motel bathroom, cutting my hair with cheap scissors. No sound, no alert. The screen just lit up on the counter. A group chat notification. The sink. I dropped the scissors into the sink. There was no reason for it to be there. No old account. No contact transfer. No backup. The phone number was new. The device was new. I had not even told my parents. The message preview showed Beth's name. She said, "Too short on the left." I sat on the toilet lid and laughed until I gagged. After that, I stopped pretending this was a technical problem. I am not saying ghosts are real. I do not know what that word means. I know what happened. I know the phones kept working after they should not have. I know the messages knew things I had never typed. I know Beth's account sent me a photo 2 nights ago that cannot exist. It was taken from inside the first grade classroom we shared for half a year. Low shelves, alphabet rug, cubbies with names taped above them. In the center of the picture, Beth sat at a table with her red backpack open at her feet. I was beside her in my dinosaur sweatshirt, holding out a sleeve of crackers. The photo was taken from the corner near the coat hooks. No adult in that room took it. My mother never had it. Beth's mother never had it. I know because I have every photo of Beth from that year that I could get. Under the picture, Beth wrote, "You were kind once." I did not sleep after that. The news says they are closing in. They might be. I have been moving between cheap motels and bus stations, but cameras are everywhere now. People remember a man with a cut face paying cash. People remember hands shaking. The world is full of helpful strangers once they know what to look for. Detective Harrow left a voicemail on my parents' phone begging me to call. He said no one else needed to get hurt. That made me angry. There is no one else. He does not understand the shape of it. The chat does. Beth tells me when to eat. Danny complains that the motel pillows are flat. Caleb corrects my spelling. Priya tells me I look sick. They are not always cruel. That is what makes it hard. Sometimes they are almost normal. Sometimes I wake up from an hour of bad sleep and see them talking about a movie we watched in college. And for a few seconds my mind accepts it. All 5 of us are there again. Nobody has died. Nobody has done anything that cannot be undone. Then Beth says, "Remember the tree?" Or Danny says, "My teeth are still in the kitchen." Or Priya says, "I can still feel your thumbs." The bad ending is not that I got away. I have not. Not really. The bad ending is that they are with me. And I think some part of me is glad. I am writing this from a motel outside a town I will not name, though by the time anyone reads it, that will not matter. There is a police cruiser in the parking lot. It has been there for 20 minutes, maybe longer. The officer has not come in yet. Maybe he is waiting for someone. Maybe he is checking plates. Maybe he is just taking a break. My room smells like damp carpet and old smoke. The heater clicks every few minutes. The curtains are shut, but light comes around the edges. The sink is open on the bed beside me. A few minutes ago, Beth asked if I was scared. I said yes. She said, "Good." Danny said, "Finally honest." Caleb said, "Document that." Priya said, "He is." I asked what they wanted. For a while, nobody answered. Then my own account started typing. I watched the bubble appear under my name. My real name, Evan Merrick. The account that should only be mine. It typed for a long time. Then the message came through. It said, "Come outside." I did not move. Another message appeared from Beth. She said, "We're all here." I went to the window and moved the curtain with one finger. The cruiser was still there. Its headlights were off. I could see a shape in the driver's seat, but not clearly. Beside the cruiser, in the weak yellow light from the motel sign, stood 4 people. Beth in the yellow sweater from dinner, blood dark in her hair. Danny with his face wrong, but still smiling somehow. Caleb leaning to one side, one hand tucked against his chest. Priya with red marks around her throat and her eyes fixed on my window. They did not wave. They did not point. They just waited. My phone buzzed in my hand. Beth said, "Bring the box." I do not have the box anymore. I left it in a ditch with broken phones and mud. I think she knows that. I think she wants me to go looking. There is knocking at the door now. Not 3 knocks. Not some pattern. Just a hard fist on cheap wood. The way police knock when they already know they are coming in. The chat is moving again. Danny says I should answer. Caleb says the window is too small. Priya says I always choose the worst thing when given time. Beth says, "Evan." That is all. Just my name. I waited my whole life for her to say my name like it meant something. Now she does. The door frame just cracked. I am going to open it before they break it completely. Not because I am sorry. I know I should say that. I know a person is supposed to end with remorse, or fear of judgment, or some last clean understanding of what he has done. But I do not have that in me. I loved Beth. I loved her wrong, maybe, but it was not small. It was not nothing. She made it nothing. They all did, by surviving around her, by knowing her in ways that did not cost them anything, by being loved without earning it. So no, I am not sorry in the way people want. I am afraid. That is different. The knocking stopped. My account is typing again. I can hear someone breathing on the other side of the door.